Good morning, all. How are we today on a wonderful Sunday? Here I am joined with the boys from Warrior Within and my brother Ando there. So to make sure everyone can hear me, hand it over to Ando.
Music is that healthy release of emotion. It's productive. It's positive. It helps connect with people, but it doesn't. It's not destructive. Even if it's a negative emotion, you're not using it to destroy yourself or somebody else or property or such and such. So, I mean, Tas and Toli, I'll pass to you guys. We're just sort of talking about the impact that music has in terms of being a healthy outlet for emotions and things like that. Yeah.
I don't want to harp on about it too much, but we didn't have the easiest childhood. From very young age, we had a lot of hardship, and I can genuinely say I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for metal. And that's where the name Warrior Within comes from. It gave me a sense of inner strength. It gave me an outlet to explore my own power, and it was very cathartic listening to metal. And I often find that people who don't listen to metal are frustrated in their life. The people that listen to metal and hard punk are normally very chill dudes. They might go nuts in the pit, but they're very chill. Why is that? Because on a daily basis, they're getting their beasties out with a big riff, or whether you play an instrument or you just listen. It's the most grounding thing. Native Americans had their big drums, and other cultures had whatever they had. Man, you listen to a pounding song, you're chilled after that.
Yeah.
People say, how do you listen to that? Listen to that. How do you not listen to that? How do you not get grounded and recharged?
Big time.
I suppose the only other comparison would be epic classic music, like classical or Renaissance, Baroque, that has so much coming at you, so much emotion and dynamic that really achieves that strength. Metal is absolutely a savior. Yeah.
Big time, man. I know a couple of our guests that we've had on have said similar things. They wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for metal. And it seems to be a really common theme, especially through a lot of the fans. A lot of the guys that are tuning in, watching, I'm sure, can relate to that as well. Maybe some of you guys can throw up some comments about that. But metal really does. It saves lives. It helps people express themselves. It helps people get their emotions out in a healthy and productive ways. And I think there's a lot of people on this planet that wouldn't be here today.
Yep. And I think most metalhead, most bands, whether they're arena fillers or underground bands, they've had experiences in their lives which has sort of pulled them towards the metal side of music. And I think everyone read enough and talked enough. They've all got their own little story behind the kind of almost outside of society perspective about their experience in life that has drawn them to heavier music. And I think it's a true telltale sign of someone who's thinking and looking for an answer, and they find it in bands that are questioning life and finding solutions and outlets in life. And heavy music, heavy musicians tend to achieve that. I remember as a little kid walking and having the troubles we had, in our young years, and you've got your bands that you love so much, and they're older than you, so they're mentors and they're peers, and some shit's coming down around you. People are being just totally nasty pieces of work, and you've got Dave Mustaine's whispering on this shoulder and Tom Araya on this shoulder, and you're just thinking of lyrics that have just kept you going forward, and don't believe the bullshit, just keep on going, and as you're walking along, just that power comes in you, and you just get home and grab that guitar and put it into there, and that's where songs come out of. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's where good riffs come from, and if you feel sad, that's where a solo comes from. And that's just beautiful, makes you whole.
Absolutely. And do you find the same with lyrics, Scotty?
Yeah, most of the time, man. I write a bit of my own stuff. Coming into Warrior Within, obviously the boys have been together since pretty much I was born. Opus was written when I was 4 years old. I've still kind of made it my own, and it's an absolute merit to the boys because they've held on to these awesome songs for so long. And if they were to bring it out in '92, what an impact it would have had then as compared to now. So I think it's massive kudos and full merit to them. But I write my own bits, and obviously we'll integrate some of our own songs soon. But it's too good of a method, not the stuff up now. It's just going too strong, and I'm enjoying it too much. So, yeah.
Oh, that's it, right? That's it. And pass to Tas Toli. Like, you guys have just released a new song entitled, was it Last Rise of the Phoenix?
Last Blaze of
the Phoenix. That's right. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of the concept behind that? Because I think it has a lot to do with, you know, some of the things you're talking about.
Yep. It's only really, you know, very briefly mentioned in the songs. I used to write lyrics that were like very long, chapters and verse, like Gene Hoglan's lyrics in, you know, the Darkness Descends were this long. I try to not choke a song too much these days with my lyrics, but what's covered in it is science now is showing us, and archaeology is showing us that we've been here before. You're not necessarily going to see that on the news, but we've been here before as a cultural, as a species, and we've reached certain heights in the past, and then gone into dark ages, reached this another height, and then we've gone into the dark ages. So, for example, one of the artifacts that were found in the bottom of the sea is the Antikythera mechanism. Now, this mechanism was built somewhere between 400 BC and about 800 BC, and it plots all the planets, the sun, the earth, and the moons, and internally it's got all these gears, okay? And only recently have they been able to truly understand it because of modern scanning. They've even seen the face. They're quite amazed now, has a user guide, all written in ancient Greek. So it was made by Greek hands, right? So all these little dials, this little winding machine on the side, you can say, okay, on this day, where's the moon going to be? Where's the Saturn going to be? Where's the Earth going to be? Where's the sun going to be, right? So now the mechanism takes into account that every, say, 270,000 years, the planets move into a different cycle. Now, I don't think there's been some old dude standing on a hill for 270,000 years observing the stars and such to be able to then write in a little book for us to make a machine. Somehow we're tapping into this information. Now, some people will say you're tapping into the Akashic records. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Akashic records, but, you know, that's how do we tap into this information? Regardless, we forgot all this information. So the Vedics and other cultures believe that we have 6 incarnations as a species, and the 6th is the very last one. And the belief is that this is our 6th. So we ain't really got any more chances after this one. So if we get it wrong, we get it wrong. Now, not only is it a matter of if you get it wrong socially, but environmentally. Like, you got to live somewhere, right? You got to live within a sustainable environment to feed you and give you sustenance. And we're not doing a really good job of trying to keep this planet alive. So it covers a few topics. It covers history. It covers also environmental issues as well.
That's huge, man. And I know, like, we had a song off our debut album, Program Dichotomy, titled As Darkness Comes, which was kind of very similar in terms of just some of the things you're saying towards the end there of the song is about, you know, we're destroying the world that we're living in. We're constantly fighting nature, trying to master it, trying to make it our slave and make it work for us. But at the end of the day, the forces of nature are way more powerful than us. And every time we do something to nature, it tries to, in its own way, achieve equilibrium. And a lot of the time in doing that, it's pushing back against us and fucking us up. You know, as was seen in the video clip and things like that. So I know Wally's very passionate about his environmentalism, so I might pass over to him to sort of have a bit of a sort of conversation about some of that, like some of that sort of topic, that whole, you know, pushing back against nature pushing back against us, and in respect to this concept of the phoenix and you know, the up and down journey, the death and rebirth, etc.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, what Toli was saying there about the whole concept of cycles, you know, the more and more I dig into the pathway that we're on as a society, you know, David Attenborough's put out films this year, last year, and there's plenty of other people who are coming from the environmental sustainability aspect. Definitely just saying, like, we're heading for an end, you know, we've pushed past certain limitations of points where we could change. everyone's obviously defining different points of, okay, now we're at the point of no return, now we're at the point of no return. Obviously, no one wants to be the doomsday promoter, because obviously then, no one has an incentive to change if there's no ability to go back, or at least prevent or derail some sort of poor choices or poor direction that we're going down. But it's certainly one of those things where the more and more that you dig, obviously there's just different actions and that sort of thing that everyone takes on a different daily basis that I didn't even know about when I first started, doing this exploration and things on my own journey. But tying all the pieces together, evidence is certainly mounting in all ways that show, okay, it's definitely not a good direction. Some people still want to deny or reject a claim and just talk about this is the way it is, and nature will do what it does. And exactly, nature will do what it does, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a very nice outcome for us as human beings, which is the tricky part. And I talk to people about responsibility for that, and some people feel they have no ability to be responsible for it because it's a global thing, and one person, what can they do? But on the flip side, other people are like, yeah, it would be great to do something, but they literally have no idea what to do. And for me, this pairs really well with the pathway of self-improvement and, always trying to become a better self, because that's the first step, understanding what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and then actually putting some logic behind that, as opposed to just blindly following the masses. And for me, that's formed my pathway, and that's what makes me, because I've had to question my choices and take alternative ones that I didn't agree with, as a previous self. This is what I just did. And when I looked at that choice and go, well, why do I actually do that? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. Well, then let's go in a different direction now. And I think on an individual level, it comes down to having to ask yourself those questions and then get informed about what it is that you are doing. But then on this whole concept of this song, there's this much greater thing at play, which is, well, we're in cycles anyway. Not saying that we're trying to alter the course of nature and, we can push it one way or push it another. As you just said, it's a very strong force, and we are nothing compared to that. So it will do what it needs to do. For us, what it looks like to me is we're just like speeding up that process, and as what Toli said earlier, people are trying to figure out how to get the hell off this planet before we screw it right over, so we can figure out somewhere to live. But that's another problem. Yeah.
It's interesting.
This planet is so awesome. Like it is the utopia that we put into poetry and we put into movies, and yet we keep thinking there's another one because we're stuffing this up. Well, come on, man. Just
that's.
I know it's a throwaway society, but you don't have to throw away a whole planet.
That's it, right? I think it was Gojira had a song. What was the song called? Another World. Just recently released. I think it was this year, last year. Which. It's that whole concept of there's no planet B. There's no there's no plan B. There's no, we'll just throw this one away and start again somewhere else. Like, that's not really an option. We have to be able to work with it. And like you said, it's quite a throwaway society, but you can't throw away everything. Sometimes you have to work with what you have. But, Roy, you said you're talking a lot about this concept of reaching these points of no return and like continually passing these checkpoints of like, well, we can't go back past that checkpoint now. And we pass the next one, and we can't get past that one anymore. I would sort of put it to you that, and put it to everyone really. Like, can you ever go backwards? Is that ever a thing in life? Like, can you ever go back to the way things were, or is it always just a constant? Like, we're moving forward, and it's just a matter of sometimes forward is up and in a positive direction, and sometimes forward is you have to go into the darkness, into the shit place, into the whether you're talking about society, environment, mental health, your own personal journey of self-improvement or whatever. Sometimes forward is down. Sometimes that is part of the forward journey, but you can never go backwards. You can only evolve forwards. You can't ever evolve backwards. You can't go back and unlearn things. You can't go back and unsee things or undo things. All we can do is continually move forward.
Yep.
Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. But back to the concept of the phoenix, sometimes that forward is we have to go forward, kill something about ourselves, something about part of ourselves or whatever, in order to create a space or an opportunity for something new to present itself. And I mean, sort of passing back to Toli and Tas there about that sort of concept.
in life, and sure enough, we do. We try to avoid it by all means. It's embedded in our DNA as humans to survive and to avoid danger and avoid pain, avoid hurt. But something older traditions, like ways of philosophy, have we've been exposed to, have expressed through the eons that we do need to go into the darkness to come through the darkness to the other side to an equilibrium, like you're saying. It's not necessarily never immersion in light and never immersion in being. It's a state of oneness. And you need to go through the black. If you're not going through the black ever, you're not on the path. You're not growing. So it is literally, the markets in the world. If they didn't do this, you wouldn't see that graph go up. So you just see it everywhere represented in science. That's the cycle of life, and so it is within us. And definitely, we shed bits as we go through these. We find bits that we don't necessarily or don't serve us anymore, that we're so attached to, and we thought it was such a strong part of us. And then through that shedding, we realize, hang on, that has been holding me out, holding me back.
Big time. And I know you guys, I got a quote here, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I know you guys released there's a couple of EPs a little while ago with this concept of the darkness and the light, and sort of the balance between those two things. And so, I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
It's a predominant theme in our music. It's always something that just reappears in life. Every day we wake up. Do I wake up, do a mundane job and get through my day? That's a battle of darkness and light. What am I doing? Follow my dreams. My music is my main heart's mission. And you go, well, that's in the moment within just getting out of bed. If you're not motivated, that's a darkness and light battle within itself. So we've got it in every way you can explore through life. And then you've got the big things in life, relationships, whatever, deaths, real deaths, physical death. It's just prominent throughout life, and it's kind of a subject we always sort of play with. And the first two EPs, In Darkness was the first, and the second was In Light. It reappears again in our lyrics throughout our other songs as well, because we find it's something we're always dealing with in life. And I don't know if you want to add a bit more to the two EPs and how we created those.
Just it is the human condition, and it's a natural condition. Why do we have a day? Why do we have a night? And if you didn't have one or the other, you'd either, and it's like being on and off in terms of, we need that time to dream. We need that time to be not physical. Whereas if we were always on or always off, you wouldn't be growing in life, would you? So you do need that seasons. Humans need seasons just as much as nature does. So and that's where oftentimes that growth happens. If you lived today forever, you get bloody bored of it, wouldn't you? So, and that's where we ramp up, we ramp down, and then we ramp up a bit more. That's how life works. And a good example is countries, Sweden or what have you, that have long periods of light and then long periods of dark. Too much of one or the other, you're on and amped for too long, and then you're dark and off for too long. And that's why they've got such high suicide rates in countries like that, because that balance is out. We need that fluctuation, or that comfortable balancing between the two, to make life work. And that's a lot of cultures, a lot religions shun the dark. Okay, but also if there was no loss, no resistance in life. But that's unfortunately the third dimension we live in. I don't think you can, we've got gravity, don't we? You've got to have some form of resistance in life. And it is that's traveling between those darknesses and lights that we as individuals grow in. And that's what pushes us. Those resistance points are what push us to be better than what we are today. And you know what? My first song wasn't my best song. Every song you write is a better version of what you think music is. And that's the same with you as a person. And your relationships, my first relationships, I was probably, romantic relationships, I was probably horrible in the way I behaved or how I allowed myself to be treated. You learn through the ways. And sometimes those learnings are good, through really good experiences. Sometimes those learnings are through discomfort and not being happy with how things went. And the next relationship, or you don't make those same mistakes, or you don't allow yourself to be treated that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? The next relationship is better than the first, isn't it?
That's
So
it.
that's the path. And that's that balance. You cannot have both for that awesome balance in life to happen. And you cannot avoid the darkness, unfortunately.
That's exactly right, man. And as Brad said in the comments here, life is about finding a balance, and it is. It's a balance between light and dark. It's Scotty, you're nodding along. Do you have something to add on that?
Man, it's just everyone's in agreement. So I think that's the best thing about it. Like, my background, I'm an electrical fitter, and I work with voltages and frequencies, and a perfect sine wave is up and down, and we have our lows, we have our highs, and as we transcend, we improve. As we drop off, we learn from our mistakes, whatever from the last point. It keeps carrying on. Like the light and dark. It's people thought the darkness was the devil, was all that bad stuff, and then the light, the coming of the light is Jesus, or all the what was it? The zeitgeist, I believe Doco went on pretty hard about it, and it was just because they didn't have the knowledge back then to kind of see that you just need both. You need to have even in your body, you need to have that rest, like Colin said. You need to rest. Right. You need to repair the cells. You need to repair the muscles, and then you can get up and do another solid day of work and bust your ass and go to the gym, or yell at someone for 90 minutes on a stage. It's just it's good. It's just in the flow of it, and like Brad said on the comments, it's just that equilibrium. If we don't have equilibrium, then the frequencies are out, and then you're in a hole yourself. So
that's right,
big time. Do you think, in terms of sort of back, Brad's just said here, the biggest growth often occurs during those dark times, and I think that's something that's really important that we all sort of sound like we're agreeing on. Is it's when you're in that dark place, that's where the growth happens. Like that almost is the light in a weird flipping around way. The darkness is where the good bits are. That's where you grow and you learn and you improve. And it's like, oh fuck, like the darkness is desirable in that way. Not only is it necessary, but it's desirable.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever been to a metal concert, but I think every bloke that goes there wears a black shirt. Like, you don't see a lot of white or pink shirts at a metal concert because they're all pretty. It's, that's a bit of symbology there. It's like, or symbolism, sorry. Everyone finds, the downtime as growth, and all the writing is white, so there's light there somewhere. You just got to find it within yourself and your mates around you and everything, and you come out good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you look at what's the science behind it, what it's saying, honestly, when you look at the density that we perceive as colour is everything but that colour. So when you're looking at black, it's everything but that colour. So you're looking at the opposite of what you're seeing. So that's the equilibrium. When you're looking at it, it's the opposite. So when we're looking at white, we're looking at black.
Yeah.
We're looking at black, we're looking at white. It's just the illusion.
Yeah, right.
But as Brad said, like it is where we grow. Like if you look back back there over your shoulder where you were once upon a time, those hard times in life where we are where we have grown the most. And I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have those experiences. And I like who I am today. So I go, thank you, your experiences for happening back then. They might have, taken longer to get through them, or they might have been setbacks or uncomfortable. But I'm grateful for me going through them because I wouldn't be who I am today.
Big time.
Perspective, isn't it? Being able to give yourself permission to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of them do that for 200 because a lot of the people from 12 years, we need to be looking back at ourselves and saying, how have I grown? Where am I? And having that gratitude for the slight growth that we have achieved, regardless of how far we're down the track. Because that's an illusion in the future. Now is now. That's the only common place that exists.
Yeah, big time. Actually, talking about that and this concept of, growing through the dark times and things like that, and the dark being an opportunity. Do you guys think that, I'd like to put it to you about COVID and our whole situation that we're in now, back on the concept of environmentalism, do you think that that's got, those two things are somewhat related in terms of us pushing nature to the brink, and then all of a sudden we're being swamped with this global pandemic killing millions and millions of people? Like, is that an accident, or are they correlated, do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
How much is out there today? We live in a wicked age today. We can actually look at everyone's perspective, scientific opinion, all sorts of stuff that's going around today, the media, and everyone's perspective on all that, false media, real media. Man, it's confusing. There are some consistencies through it all, and I can say it is like what you mentioned a little earlier. There is a Wally. There is a natural cycle, regardless of what we do to it. It's like a 20-foot wave. No matter what you do, if you try to swim through that, it's not going to swim. You just got to go with the flow. And if you come up at the end, if you're a good breath holder, you'll come to the top. That's nature. It's got its own cycle. It's got its own way. Now, how much we impact that can make a difference to our comfort zone on this planet, whether we survive or we don't. And I totally agree that we do have a contribution to that. The COVID, the pandemic, I don't know what's going on there. I prefer to keep neutral. Don't get me started. So,
No, let's get him started.
yeah, but I think in the bigger picture of things, we're survivors.
Yeah.
And a great mentor of mine says we're wired to thrive beyond all adversity.
Yeah.
We are incredibly scientific, but also spiritual machines. I'm talking about religion. I'm talking about the strength. I'm talking about who we are truly, and we can survive through any of it. We've been through so much, and this is an aspect and a reflection of nature doing its thing, people doing their things. It's a whole cycle.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, we had my mum's always worked in natural therapies, and she had a naturopath friend with her little toddler, and the little toddler dropped its bib on the ground, and the mum picked it up, stuck it straight back in the kid's mouth, and my mum was like, "Whoa!" Her way of bringing us up was make sure that everything was clean, and the lady who obviously studied naturopath goes, "How is the child going to develop its own immunity strength if it has everything clean? Put a dirty thing in the child's mouth, and it's going to develop its own immunity to what's on it." Now, don't always sound cryptic, but I don't care if this is going to sound hardcore. I don't care if I live or die. And by that, I mean I'm going to live without fear of death. Okay? And I think we have to, as a species, going through this for now 2 years, I think the only way through this is not to vaccinate everyone, is to go out there and live life. If we get exposure to it, we either develop the immunity and continue living, or we die. Because unfortunately, we can't clean our hands, we can't clean the whole planet, so it's sterile forever for us to get to living life as we once did. It's a strange thing. And the vaccine openly says it's not going to totally cure you of being able to get the disease. All it does is reduce the effect. So it's not a be all and end all solution anyway. So I think we just have to live without fear of death. Unfortunately, if you're an older person or a person who has a compromised health, it's a hard reality to be in, and I don't wish those people ill health. But I think that's the only way we're going to get from here to tomorrow.
Well, that's it, right? It's just, I mean, as harsh as it may sound, like natural selection has always been a thing, and the strong do survive through stuff, and the people that don't survive, that's always happened since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, in the last sort of 50 to 100 years, as a society, we're trying to protect everyone at all times so that everyone can survive everything by keeping everyone safe all the time. And that's not always a good thing. Like we just said, you grow through the darkness, you get stronger through challenges. Yeah. If you're just constantly protecting everyone from challenges, how do we grow? How do we keep moving forward? Like as a person, as a society, as a group?
Yeah, totally right. Again, the metaphor of we can't fight nature, can only contribute towards whatever it is that is the space and place that we're inhabiting on this earth. And I think we just need to sort of tango with it.
And we think we're so powerful. Like we think that by creating vaccines, we're going to stop people being affected by it. Well, when was the last time you had a year where not one person had a flu, or not one person had a cold? There isn't a be-all solution that is absolutely, everything we want to achieve is going to be achieved. That's not in reality. Microbes change. Everything changes despite our best laid plans. So we're not so powerful that we have that absolute power over everything around us, despite what we think that we have as a power as a species. We think we're so powerful that we can control everything.
I think it's, again, a balance. Balance is key. Not to throw maybe with the bathwater. We can combat anything that's coming to us biologically with science, but also with, as you said, our thousands and thousands of years of evolution. So I think it's using both the darkness and the light together to get through this. So yeah, to just throw out one method is absolutely insane. I think it's the balance.
Well, like you said, Taz, there's just a massive information overload in the world right now, and you'll bust your brain if you try and take it all in, or try and make the most of everything's happening. But like with the lockdown, we haven't seen cars being taken off the road because they cause 18,000 deaths a year. It's we're just putting masks on people to cover up a sneeze, and there's 2-pack painting respirators out there that actually work, and you've got these little bits of cloth that are supposed to stop the worst disease in history. But anyway, that was my little input. I could keep going.
It's interesting, isn't it? There's like so many different perspectives on this, and I think it's an interesting point you made there, Scotty, about the whole, like we're using these little paper disposable masks to try and save us all from the, as you say, the most deadly pandemic in history. And then yet, like, there's all this other stuff that kills a lot less people, and we're so much more protected from things like that. It's like, I don't know. I don't really have a strong stance for or against, say, like the vaccine. Like, obviously, vaccines have been a huge, like, saver in past in things like the smallpox stuff and polio and all that kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
they're definitely have their place in terms, and their usefulness in society, big time. With the COVID thing, like, again, the vaccine can definitely save a lot of lives and minimize the impact of COVID and things like that. But like you said, Tas and Toli, like, it's not going to solve the problem. It's not going to just make this whole thing go away, and we'll be fine. And it's a balance, like you guys said, and like Brad said in the comments, it's a balance between science and our own nature. You're balancing that, like medicine is good. It helps people recover from illness, yes, but also having a strong immune system also is good. It helps people recover from illness. And so you can't throw one of them away and say, like, we have to just rely on medicine and not rely on our own immune system because it lets us down too much. But equally,
medicine is an emergency device. It absolutely works when needed. The trick is to take care of the self.
Proactive.
Balanced diet, balanced exercise, all of the cliches. Before we get to emergency, I didn't take care of myself. Can you please give me the sweet pill? Like, well, you've accumulated these things. It's your responsibility. Yeah, come here. But prevention before extreme.
Well, one thing I was going to bring up quick, Wally, you're big on the environmentalist side. Like, with all these masks, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Olympics, but every time, like, the runners are coming off the track, they're getting a new mask every time. Like, where are all these masks going? Is that contributing to, like, disposal and just rubbish in the world? Like,
I've noticed that too. Yeah, like, I work in the healthcare industry, and they get given an ample supply of them.
Yeah.
Every area of the building.
Every shopping centre car park.
You 1 hour line, you take it off, throw it away. You're just throwing them in dustbins. Theoretically, they should be going in a biohazard, a disposable system.
Especially if you've got COVID or something, big time.
If you had it, you've touched it, you've chucked it.
But how many are just sitting on a car park of a shopping centre? Like, what's your input of that, Wally? What do you got there?
Well, I think it's one of those things that was brought to my attention maybe like May last year. The whole concept of, okay, the world has a shortage of masks because it was, China had such a Well, they were doing it all before we were anyway. You know, they were doing it from November, whatever, 2019. And so they're producing most of these supplies, and all of a sudden there was a global shortage because of the global demand skyrocketed. And all of a sudden everyone needed to find themselves disposable masks, and so shops are selling out. Same thing with the hand sanitizer and all this sort of shit. But obviously all these sorts of things are manufactured in plastic, and not only from the masks like containing the virus, but just all this extra wastage. Cleaning products like sanitization products, all these sorts of things, it's all got to go somewhere. And again, like, we're having a plastic issue in the world as it is anyway. Now you want to incorporate all these extra plastic bottles and paper towels and shit, like cloths for wiping stuff down.
Plastic cloths.
How can that be like a solution moving forward anyway, if all of a sudden we've got to sanitize things 50 times a day more than what we used to ever? And all these shopping centres, they still got hand sanitizer dispensers and all these sorts of things. So whilst, again, like looking at individual choices, because that's all I can have control over, like I needed to go buy myself a reusable mask. It's a piece of cotton, you know, with some elastic bands on it. And then I just need to wash that every week, you know. And therefore, I'm not throwing it away every time. So, like you said, okay, maybe some people use it once a day or a couple of days and then they throw it away, but certain jobs, maybe you're not allowed to do that. You've got to be replacing it every time you take it off.
In the healthcare industry, you had to use the specific grade one.
Yeah.
You couldn't use the rough ones that you could wash and put in an alcohol bath. So, yeah, I know. I agree. I saw that the consumption of plastic when this started just skyrocketed. We've probably gone backwards to anything we've achieved in sustainability in the last 20 years just by the consumption of that. But on the other hand, if your beloved one was at death's door and you had to use these items to save their life, you would use it. So again, it's the balance, isn't it? So we go, well, for a short-term gain, maybe it's worthwhile using this because this is the way we're manufacturing it. We haven't got systems yet to produce these all in a sustainable way. So just keep the button. Manufacturing industry has been producing plastic since the 50s, and all these items have come out of that stream of manufacturing industry. So it takes time for that, and that's changing. But yeah, I see that I've been frustrated with it, but I can see also the effect of what we really need to do to nip it in the bud. So,
but in terms of health, the masks apparently last an hour before they start to break down. So after about an hour, you're now starting to breathe microplastics.
Yeah.
So what's happening longer term, if you're trying to stay healthy and resilient, naturally, what's happening to you longer term, if you don't use like a cloth mask, which doesn't break down, it's kind of this weird cycle.
Just be educated, I think. Be educated. So if you have to wear it because of the regulations say, well, then just change it every hour before it breaks down. So, I know, it's frustrating.
Well, that's the thing, right? And you guys have just brought up a really important point, you know, like which is a lot to do with our Phoenix concept of, you know, we've been traveling along the journey of life. Next minute, COVID happens. The world has changed. And like we said before, you can't really ever go backwards. You can only evolve forwards, right? We can only move forward. So we've been faced with a new challenge, i.e. COVID, and we've come up with new solutions, i.e. masks, sanitizers, all these things. But then those new solutions create new problems. Like we've got all this extra wastage. We've got, like you're saying, about breathing in the microplastics and all this stuff. It's a new problem that we never faced before because we never had the new problem came from a solution to an old problem. And now we've got a new problem, which then we'll have a solution for that, which will then create yet another problem. Then we'll need yet another solution. And so is the journey of life and evolution, is we're constantly solving problems that then create more problems to solve. And I mean, that's the whole concept of the Phoenix, right? We've got to constantly we can't ever stop and go, hang on, let's go back. Let's like throw all these problems away, throw the solution away and go back to the old problem. Like we can't do that ever. We can only move forwards. So I guess that's like you're saying about the plastic masks being part of a bigger system of plastic manufacturing that's existed for a long time. Potentially the next solution would be, well, to keep the solution to the COVID thing, but to remove the problem of the plastic wastage, then we move to sustainable masks. But then that would have yet another problem somehow, and then so on and so forth.
I totally agree. And being, like as you said earlier, you mentioned just it's the choice of the individual. As each individual makes, there's little micro steps of change, we can be the solution we want to see in the world. A good example was my work, being in the hospitality sector of aged care. They've got a traditional way they've been doing things for a long time, and we went into lockdowns and isolating people because they could have had COVID. They just had flus, but you've got to isolate people until you find out what they have until diagnosis comes back. And so they get isolated, and we serve them with all plastic, traditional plastic disposable cutlery and plates. And I just threw it at a very traditional chef who's very stuck in their ways. I said, look, there are solutions. I have worked in cafes that have different materials that they make out of bamboo, cellulose, cornstarch. Just look into it. And what was actually fantastic was the the demographic, the age group we're talking about, of 70 to 100, were complaining that they were being served on plastic because that's not environmentally friendly. But the people around me who are in their, you say, 40s to 60s, we're thinking, oh, that's all right. That's what it's meant for. Plastic, throw it away because, you know, we can't. And I was like, it's great that we've got these older generations kind of being part of the problem of waking up to it in their last day saying, hey, this is irresponsible. So between me telling her, giving her a solution, and then the elderly, in her other ear, she has all of that in order, all this bamboo and cornstarch plates. And it's like just that little bit. And look, there have been other places of work, and I've said it, it's just like talking to a brick wall. Nothing happened. So yeah, just try it. Just be the little change you can see in the world.
That's perfect statement, man, because not a lot of people know that I met Tas Toli through my brother. He was originally our original drummer in Warrior Within. There was only the three of them, and then I jumped in. But Tas Toli also met Craig through Surfrider Sunshine Coast, which is a massive environmental group. They do a lot of beach cleanups and a lot of taking care of the environment. And before that, I really didn't know a lot about the environment. And then, you know, just those little things that made me change the way I did things at home. And I took back to my workmates and friends and even my own family. It just, those little changes, like you said before, Wally, it's on just one person. But if one person told one person and one person told the other person, it just hopefully have that little flow and effect. But, you know, it's those little things that we pick up over time that if we can improve ourselves, and we're going to improve the world.
Massive. Just one small change, each individual, slowly. We don't realize the individual how much power we have in this world. We're all connected. The one equals everybody. It might be slow, but it's better than nowhere. You know, it's better than not progressing. Totally agree.
And as an individual, you really got to be the one to stem that fire for yourself. And I think for myself, that's been a tricky part. Just to take a comment from Shane in the comments section, it says, from Wayne's World, we fear change. And that's one thing I guess I've struggled with, that concept myself, is like, how do I bring these messages to other people? Because I do see, as you said earlier, Taz, like some people are just absolute brick walls and closed-minded and things like that. And so much of the addressing of potential change, the way to go about doing that with other people, just requires some thought and some tactics in itself, you know, because generally, like, people can be hypocritical. They can do one thing and say another, but simply because they have no idea or just lack the education around what it is they're doing, because they simply never stop to think about that action, you know. And that's the trickiest part, on top of all these things, is actually creating the change, but then also convincing individuals why it's such a good idea, not only from a logical perspective, but also from an emotional perspective, because that's what they're stuck on. Like, no, we've got to do it this way because that's the way it's always been done. You know, that's the way my parents taught me how to do it, or, you know, that's just the way we do it in this place. All those sort of rebuttals, that's the hardest part, to get people out of that emotional place into that logical place, if that's what we need to make this step over this hurdle and move into the next evolution of what it is that we're facing.
And the blessing is we're all, you know, everyone I'm looking at on this screen is an artist, and as an artist, your inner world can be expressed through your music, and your ideas can be expressed through your music. So the beauty, you know, like, look at these guys. When I was a kid, they could think for yourself, and they brought different concepts of environmentalism up, and it, oh wow, I never thought that we were damaging things. So you, through your music, you have that incredible ability to, hey, share an idea. and you know, it's just planting seeds. I don't like ramming my opinion down people's throats because that's not my place, and I don't want other people to ram their opinions onto me. But all we can do is plant seeds, make people start thinking for themselves and thinking outside their square that might be already established in their psyche, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So, and that's it's an awesome. You know, sometimes you think, are we just jesters? Are we just creating short-term pleasure for the world? No, there is a deeper power in music. Not only, you know, I think of all the times when I've been sad that a creative lyric has picked me up, or a suicidal's lyric has picked me up. So there is a feeling of, yeah, breaking me out of my tunnel vision, bad feeling. Yeah, there's that happening as well. But there's been times that the lyric has been, wow, man, that's awesome. That's just changed my state. Well, we as artists have that incredible power to share that and to be able to plant those seeds. Yeah.
Well, that's right. And I mean, like you said, you know, you listen to music and it's affected you in that way. So it would make sense that your music could do the same thing for others, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Absolutely.
Actually, speaking about that, we've sort of, you know, been chatting for a little while, but do you guys want to, do you have a little bit of promotion to your song, like talking about this exact sort of concept?
Yep.
Last Blaze of the Phoenix. We can put up a link in the comments for everyone that's watching.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So obviously the song's only been out a few weeks now, so you should listen to it on Spotify. You've got a new video is only a couple of weeks old as well, so check it out on YouTube. It's a song we had a lot of fun playing. We love playing this song. And it's a typically Toli song in that it's a long song. I have a hard time writing short songs.
Don't worry. Don't worry, Wartooth fans are used to long songs.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's a song that we've had a lot of fun putting together. And Scotty's voice is a little bit maybe slightly experimental for him, and that is not just pushing it the whole time. So it's kind of nice seeing different elements of Scott's voice on not only this song, but Pagan Spirit as well. Different sides.
I even channeled being a monk a little bit, so that was
yeah.
Hectic.
Yeah.
Bit of a deep reflective moment in the song, hey?
Yeah, a bit of humming, a bit of frequency frequency jamming. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was cool doing it, but it was fun.
Yeah.
What did I do it in? Like a diesel.
It was an asphalt hopper.
It's an asphalt. Yeah.
Just to make it literally.
Excellent. We've just chucked up the link in the comments there for everyone that's watching to check out Warrior Within's latest clip, Last Blaze of the Phoenix. And I mean, if you guys, anybody that's watching doesn't know Warrior Within, by all means check them out. They've got their YouTube stuff, Facebook, Instagram, all the works. Obviously, you guys are based up sunny coast / Brisbane, depending on the week.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think we've played a gig together, have we?
No.
If we have, it was a long time ago.
Had it teed up, you remember, and then things started falling all apart, and
That's right. Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna have to do that once we can get back onto
big
the
time.
stage and things like that. We're bloody keen in.
absolutely.
I mean, for everyone that's watching, also we are getting closer to being back on the stage. We're getting very close to being back on the stage because we've got a gig booked. Well,
Yeah.
Let's go.
Congratulations, guys.
Certainly do. That's exciting, man.
Do we want to tell them about it, or are we going to save that for next week?
Oh, I'll say that till next time. We don't want to overthrow the shadow of the Warrior Within.
And a teaser.
Oh, it's going to be a long way for the
fans.
Well, it's been announced, put it that way. There's a gig in Brisbane. If you guys are keeping your eyes out, there'll be a gig with our logo on the poster. And we are bloody excited. And we'll be promoting that a bit more over the next couple of weeks. But, I mean, long story short, everyone that's watching, we've got ourselves a band, we've got ourselves a gig, and we are bloody keen to get back on stage. Yeah, and I mean, now that it's happening, I mean, there's going to be a Warrior Within Wartooth gig collaboration coming up.
Yeah, well, similar to us, we just got our drummer. Tom, shout out to you. I know you wanted to be here, but unfortunately couldn't. But we've got our drummer, just like you boys, been through the darkness, we've been through the light, and we'll come out for the better.
Come out stronger the other side, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I mean, we might wrap it up there, guys. I hope you have an excellent Sunday ahead of you.
Thanks for including us in today's World Truth, fellas.
That's all right, fellas. Thanks for the insight into, I mean, the whole concept of death, rebirth, the society that we're at. I mean, there's a lot of things that we covered today. A lot of
We solved all of the problems. It's all done. It's good.
That's it.
Wake
yeah.
up tomorrow.
All right. What are we going to tackle next week? That's it.
Yeah, done.
Hell yeah. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And as I said, guys that are watching, check out Warrior Within. Check out the video that we chucked up in the comments and give them some love. Give some love to our fellow Queensland Thrashers. And hope everyone has a great week ahead. Being, working towards their best self, killing off things they need to kill off. Remembering we can only move forward. Sometimes that means into the darkness and out the other side. But stay strong, people. We're always here on the warpath as our Warrior Within. So have an epic week ahead, guys. Hope you have an awesome Sunday afternoon. And thanks again to Warrior Within, to Scott, Tas, and Toli for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you later.
Catches.